take it serious, right? Like, I know it's gonna be some BS, right? But I'll say this. When I watched, because I even went live yesterday a couple times, and, I was a little judgy, I will say. Because, there's always something in every Tyler Perry film, TV show. There's always something there that's on some BS, right? And, overall, at the end of the day, the movie, I'll say, was actually pretty good. But, still there's some things, when you think about it, it's like, what? And it's just absolute bizarre, right? And I feel like Tyler Perry, he likes to, tap into that bizarre side, where he likes to talk about random shit that's going on that ain't nobody thinking about. And, that's the whole purpose of, making films or talking about things that nobody's really thinking about like that. And that's cool and all. It's just really on how you do it, right? So, this is spoilers, so, whatever, it is what it is. No one cares. So the movie starts off, and we got this guy who looked like a younger version, in my opinion, somewhat cuter version of Shemar Moore. Now, one thing that we all know, Tyler Perry personally handpicks the men that come on this, his shows, his movies. What I mean by personally, like, they must have abs of steel. Like, they need to have vibranium abs. Okay? Pure vibranium. He personally picks them out. And I want to hear, Tyler Perry's not gay. Listen, Tyler Perry ain't gay. Why is it we was all shocked when we found out he has a son? Bitch, shut up. I'm kidding. Am I? But anyway, whatever. My point is, he personally handpicks them. Okay? And they have to have abs. Superman abs. Like, they need to be out of this world. But surprisingly, this guy didn't have that. Like, he had a little bit of something. He was more of what Chadwick probably looks like right now. Like, he had a little something on him. But he comes home, and then he talking about his mama. Oh, by the way, so we don't know, in the beginning, we don't know exactly if he's a firefighter or a police officer, but one thing we all know, Tyler Perry loves to make sure that the men, they're either firefighters, or they're either police officers, or they're politicians, or something like that, or some stockbroker or whatever, somewhere in that. But, something like that. But, never anything like, or some butler or whatever, but whatever. So, we don't know exactly what he is, but we're here in this house, and this old lady's standing on the roof, and she's crying, and she's talking about she wanted to kill herself, and dude's not even trying to, he's not even trying to talk this lady down. He's just, like, not really doing anything. And then the helicopter shines a light on this lady, and they're like, no, don't do that. And by that time, she already jumped. So he's like, no. And I kind of laughed at it, because I'm like, what? And then we switched to another piece, which I was like, what? And I was like, already we're on some BS, because what was that? Like, what did that have to do with anything? Like, why are we here? What was the point of that? Like, is this to, show what he does for a living? Because really, we don't know exactly what he does for a living. We just know he's here, and we're on this building. We don't know why, what's going on, what this lady is talking about. But she kills herself, and he's like, and then we don't, go further into none of that. So we go into the next scene. He's all distraught and everything. But not necessarily, like, I would be distraught. Like, if I was, in his position, I'm trying to save somebody's life and trying to prevent them, and they die, kill themselves anyway, I would be distraught. But he was just like, yeah, I'm tired, whatever. You telling his wife, you go ahead and take the car, whatever. They having this whole conversation like it's nothing. And so she goes to work. She works at the public defender's office. Child, she homegirl. All she's supposed to do is just make sure that whatever the inmate, make sure they just sign a plea deal, right? So Tyler Perry, Tyler Perry, I don't understand how you can sit here and boast about your writing, and you want to boast about, you got all these studios and whatever, that's fine. And you got all this money, but you stay getting these bad wigs. Just don't understand. I don't understand why he always just the bad wigs. Like, why? And it's like, why a wig though? Like, you get a whole man who has a perfect head of hair, and you would put a wig on him. Why? For what? Why do you want to put a wig? That's like Chadwick. Like, I wish he would do some shit like that. You know how fast I clown him? I mean, I clown him anyway, but ooh, I rip him to shreds. Like, But Tyler, he got this janitor wig, and I'm like, why? It's so ugly. It looked like carpet, and I'm like, it is not. But he's trying to be this mean boss, like, you do what I say, whatever, you take this case or whatever. She's like, no, I don't want to take the case. I'm like, you're going to take the case, you're going to go down there, you're going to get this lady to sign the plea deal. She already said she's guilty, right? And we're like, what? So she's like, fine, whatever. So she, of course, has, the fat black best friend. Of course, they always have that in Tyler Perry films. And then they kind of briefly showed the gay black best friend, right? Which, that was brief. Like, okay, why are we showing that? Like, what was the purpose of him having any speaking lines? Like, we didn't even see him for the remainder of the episode, not the episode, the show, the movie. Then we had, oh my god. But then, oh yeah, I think I'm gonna upload this to YouTube. Yeah. But then we had, I'm trying to think, I'm drawing a blank. Oh yeah, so we find out that, of course, they live in a small town. Which means, a murder has happened. This woman, married to her husband, kills him. Everybody's talking about it. Because, usually in small towns like that, stuff like that didn't really happen like that. So when it does happen, it's very big. Like, oh my gosh, shit's happening in her town, So everybody's like giving their opinions. She should die. She should get the electric chair. So, now we're at a point where, okay, what exactly happened? Like, what's going on? So we're gonna call her the lawyer. So the lawyer lady, she shows up at the jail, and she's like, is there anything that, I need to be worried about? Thinking that this lady is crazy and deranged, and the girl's like, nah, she's gonna be handcuffed, so you're gonna be fine. So Crystal Fox walks in. Now, if you don't know, Crystal Fox is Hannah from The Has and Have-Nots. Well, that's where I know her from. She's probably been in other stuff, but that's where I know her from. So we're going to call her Crystal. So Crystal walks in. Oh, my bad. Her name is Grace. So Grace walks in. She sits down. She's like, I'm ready to sign. Like, all I want is to have a prison that's going to be close to my son so I can see him and my grandbaby. That's all I want. And she was like, okay, well, I can try to get you 15 years in jail, whatever. So she's like, okay, cool. Then she, so the lawyer lady, she goes, she tries to talk to, I guess, DA or whatever he was, some white man. And she was like, it was like, no, she's going to get the max, life in prison. And then we'll try to get her close to, a prison that's going to be close to her son. And she was like, trying to lessen the sentence, like, get 15 years because she's never, this is her first offense, and, that's excessive, that's all we can do, whatever. So then, the question remains, what happened? So fast forward, I'm trying to think, did she talk to her first, or did she talk to her first? Either way, so she goes, she's asking around, trying to figure out, oh yeah, at one point, Grace's son, Malcolm, shows up, and he's like, I know she didn't, my mom, I know her, she wouldn't kill a spider, she couldn't do none of that, and it's just no way she could have did something like this. It's just not who she is, and you gotta help her. And the lawyer lady was like, I don't know what else you want me to do. She's talking about she wanted to plead guilty, she's saying she did it, all that other stuff, so I don't know what else you want me to do here. And he's like, well, you gotta convince her. She's like, I don't know what you want from me. So the lawyer lady goes, she sits down with Phylicia Rashad, right? She sits down with Phylicia, which her name is Sarah, which I hate that. I mean, if your name is Sarah, that's cool and all, but come on now. A black woman named Sarah. Yeah. It just sounds weird. Like, I should say, Phylicia Rashad being named Sarah. Like, that doesn't fit. So we're going to call her Phylicia. So Phylicia, she's sitting there. She's Grace's friend. And she's like, Grace, I've known her for like some years now. And she's a cool lady. And, she's, wouldn't, hurt anybody. Oh, and by the way, I wonder if that was actually... So, when the lawyer lady meets up with Phylicia, right, she's, like, trying to take the garbage out. She's like, oh, it's so heavy, can you help me? And, the lawyer lady was like, yeah, sure, trying to help her take the garbage out, because the garbage can was really heavy, right? And then up in the building, the complex that she was staying in, we see, like, a little glimpse of Cicely Tyson, right? And she was like, oh, don't even worry about her. That's one of my tenants. She's just, a little deranged. She ain't got no family, but don't even worry about her. Let's go. So, she sits down and they start talking about Grace. She's like, it's just so unfortunate that this happened. And truth be told, this is, my fault. And the lawyer lady was like, how's this your fault? So she said, when you see Grace, show her this. And it was a little flyer or whatever to like an art exhibit. So we get a little flashback of, Grace. We find out she works at a bank. And once she sees this little flyer and this little note saying go to this, right? She shows up, this little art exhibit. You see this, then we see this guy, right? And I'm just like, oh my God. Oh, let me back up. We find out that Grace has an ex-husband who was a mortgage broker or whatever, but he had a firm, which means he's making buku money. And they divorced. She divorced him because she caught him sleeping with the secretary, and he ends up marrying her in their house. And she ended up going to the wedding, which I'm like, why? For what? Why would you need in your house, like the house you lived in, the house that you had a baby and all that? No. Ew. So then, so there's that. I'm like, girl. So anyway, back to the whole artist. So this man shows up and he has this god awful wig. I'm like, why? If you saw that thing on that man's head, I was like, what is that? And a lot of people, they've been like, it feels like an 80s film. And it did. It really did. Looking at him and the way things are set up, it felt like this was in the 80s. But it wasn't until Felicia was talking about Christian dating online. And I'm like, oh my God. Like, that's one thing Tyler Perry loves doing in every one of his films. Like, it could be something serious, but how's God gonna fit in this? How are we gonna throw him in there? And I'm like, I get it, but you don't have to throw God in everything. Like, it's okay. Like, you know, you can have a woman, and it's like, she didn't have to be an honest woman. She goes to church every day. Like, you know, you don't have to, like, it's always that. But anyway, it's typical Tyler Perry. So, she, is in this art exhibit. This dude shows up, and his hair was a work of art. I'm like, what is that? On your scalp, sir. Like, why? Like, it was this. Imagine, the best way I can describe it, it looked like they went over to Jermaine Jackson's house, took his hair and slapped it on this guy's head. That's how it looked, Jermaine Jackson's hair. I'm like, why does he have this on his head? Why does he have this? It looks terrible. And clearly he looks, a younger guy. And Crystal Fox, I will say, she's older, but she looks young. You can tell she's older, but she looks good for her age. I don't know how exactly. I don't think she's like 50 something, but she looks really good. Like, she really does. The only thing that would really give her away is her voice, because her voice does sound old, though. No shade, but that's just that's how her voice sounds. But she looks really good. Like, her body is all natural, skin tight, boobs up, everything, no surgery. Everything is natural. Like, whatever she's doing, I want it, okay? So, she really got the fountain of youth on her side. So, Mama really working it. So, she's like, judging the painting. She's like, oh, a woman probably did it because the name is Shannon, and, she probably did it. I love this painting and the shadows, whatever, just critiquing, right? So, we find out that, obviously, the photographer of all these, not the painting, but of these photos, is the dude with Jermaine Jackson's hair. We're going to call him Jermaine Jackson's hair. So we find out Jermaine Jackson's hair's name is actually Shannon DeLong. And I'm like, DeLong? Because his hair looked DeLong so bad. I'm like, ugh. And then, so, let's see, after that, we get this whole love story spell of how they went on a date. They're sitting there talking. The people in the back, the extras, they're trying to be extra by eating air food and air water. Like, the extra in the back during this scene was supposed to be eating eggs, whatever, but he wasn't eating nothing. Like, he was just poking at it and then putting a fork in his mouth like he was eating. And then he was drinking out of a glass of water. Drinking a glass of water, but there was no water in it. I'm like, so really? So we had that little tidbit detail that happened. But as far as, they're sitting there and they're talking, they get to know each other. And she was talking about, Grace was talking about, oh, so trusting of him. He was just how he made me feel. And then, how charming he was, how much of a gentleman he is, and just all of that. So to sum it all up, he was just this overall nice guy, and how he treated her well, and how he would walk her home every night. And I'm like, well, who's walking home at night? Girl, I know you got a car somewhere. Like, what? How about drive me home, but not walk me home? Who does that? Ugh. So then at some point, everything's going well between them. And then we find out, they ended up, he takes her to this little garden, this obvious green screen garden. And she was like, turn around, like, just turn around real fast. I'm like, okay. She turns around and all these fake ass fireflies come up. I'm like, oh my gosh. They didn't even look real. Like, they're just little balls of light. And you can say, well, that's what fireflies are, but not like the ones we saw on there. Like, that obvious fake. And I'm like, these flowers look like pollen central. Like, I don't even have allergies, but the way those flowers look, I would get allergies off of that. Like, Okay, all kinds of pollen, like, ugly little flowers. But he proposes to her. She's like, yeah. So they end up getting married, right? All is well. I didn't need to see a sex scene, no. I didn't need to see that. But we saw it. It was there. Then at one point, we flash back over it. Because, mind you, Grace is telling all this to the lawyer lady. Because the lawyer lady's like, you got to tell me what's going on. Because they want you to sign this plea deal. But I feel like there's something more going on. And I'm trying to help you. And she was like, okay, So clearly she's trying to, she's telling, but she's not really telling what's going on. She's like holding back something, right? So, I'm trying to think. So then, at one point, everything was all good and peachy, but of course, once you really settle in, people really start to show their true colors. So, Grace is, talking about how one night she woke up, she went downstairs, he's on the phone, Jermaine Jackson's hair is on the phone, and dude's talking about fireflies. So I'm like, oh God. Really? Really? Like, you are really sitting here talking about some damn fireflies. Well, like, that's all you got? Because that's what I was thinking. I'm like, that show, the fireflies and some ugly ass flowers. Are you serious? So they, she's like, what are you doing talking on the phone? Like, who is this? So he hung up the phone. He was like, I can't remember the one thing that he didn't like, but I knew the other thing that he didn't like. He said, I don't like being questioned. And I'm like, what? I'm like, no, ma'am. But that was just the start of the problem. Like, that's where you should have known. And she was like, I miss you. And he was like, I miss you too. What? Like, it was nothing. And she was like, okay, that's weird. So then at some point, like I said, remember, Grace works at a bank, right? So Grace is sitting there. All of a sudden, she's talking on the phone to her friend, which is Felicia. So she's talking to Felicia, and she's like, girl, it was just so weird. Like, he was just like, I don't like being questioned, and I don't want to think that he was on the phone talking to some other woman, but he talking about fireflies and shit. Like, if you gonna be messing around, the least you can do is like be crafty. Like, don't be using the same shit you used on me on somebody else. Like, that's all you got, really? So my forehead itching. So then, okay, so then, so Felicia, she's on the phone. She's like, girl, you just tripping. That's just what men do. Don't take it to heart. It is what it is. Like, don't even worry about it. It's nothing. So, Grace is sitting up, talking to her. And she looks outside. Doors wide open. And she sees a bunch of white men, and they all these suits. And they all looking at her. And they just, like, walk past her office, like, just really glaring at her. And I'm like, oh, girl, that's clearly, high-ups, like, boss over boss. And so one lady walks in. She's like, they want to see you in the conference room. So she walks in, and she's like, what's going on? And they're like, there's like $39,000 taken from this company. And, your name and passwords and all that other stuff. So, they're accusing her of stealing the money. And it's like, she's trying to explain, like, I wouldn't do something like that. I've been working for years. And it's like, we don't give a shit. You're fired. So they fire her. And she's like, where the hell did this money go? Like, I never took any money. Like, I'd never done anything like that. And so she's, packed her stuff. She ends up leaving. She's sitting at home. She's crying. And she confronts. Now, mind you, Felicia Rashad, she's sitting there. Oh, shit. Oh, I'm like, why did it feel like the light just got brighter? So Felicia Rashad, they're sitting there talking, and they're just like, she's like, girl, I can't believe he did something like this. And she's like, he's just, like, I've been calling him, and he hadn't been answering. Oh, mind you, let me back up. Hold on. Got missing a part. So there was one part, where he was, before he was all mean and shit, where he was being all lovey-dovey, where he shows up at her job and he gives her flowers. And like I said, he's a photographer. He likes taking pictures, right? So she's sitting there, computer wide open, and he's taking pictures of her. He's taking pictures of her. And I'm like, so when they said that this money is missing, I'm like, oh. So basically what he did, he came in, saw that computer. So, but then at the same time, girl, why are you sitting there and your laptop is wide open, your passwords, all the other shit is out, and dude is over here taking pictures and shit? I'm like, why would you? Ain't no way I would have that wide open. I don't care who it is. I don't care if Jesus himself walks in and tells me some, hey girl, close that shit out. You ain't getting nothing, okay? You ain't getting nothing from me. So, yeah, so remember that. So, so fast forward. So he finally walks in. And she's like, where have you been? I've been calling you, and you hadn't been answering. And he's like, what's going on? And she's like, you've been lying to me. You over here messing around with some other woman, and you talking about fireflies and shit. And he's like, can I talk to you alone? And the friend was like, no, I ain't going nowhere. Now, in the beginning, okay, she was like, I'm her friend. I would not, leave her. And I was like, okay, because I was getting vibes from him that, okay, he gonna beat her at one point. Like, that's the vibes I was getting. I'm like, ooh, friend, stay there. And so eventually Grace was like, no, it's cool, you can leave. So they sit there talking it out. He's like, look, the fireflies, and he pulls out some photos of some nurse and these children who have cancer or whatever, talking about something. I was just taking pictures of them, and I did it for you. And I'm like, what? And so then Grace reveals to him that she got fired because money, was stolen and all. And she's, I feel like my identity, somebody took my identity. And he was like, oh, what? He was acting all concerned and shit. And she was like, yeah. So they sitting there trying to figure out how this happened. Like, they're going through phone records. They're calling the IRS, just trying to fix the situation. And then all of a sudden Grace goes to the bank. We find out that her house is going to be foreclosed in 42 days, because she hadn't paid anything. She hadn't paid the mortgage. And so Grace was like, what are you talking about? Paying mortgage? I had paid for this house. And she was like, no, you took out a mortgage. A few weeks ago or whatever, you took out a mortgage. And it the exact same money that was taken out was the exact amount, right? It's $39,000. So she took money out of that and the mortgage, and she had been paying it. So she was like, oh my gosh, like, what's going on? And she's like, I gotta, I'll pay it, but I didn't do any of this. Somebody's taking my identity. And she's like, well, this is the person that showed up, it was notarized or whatever. The address was something Sycamore Street or whatever. So she goes to the house, and the house was like completely abandoned. There's so many eviction notices and mail and all of the other stuff. The house is completely abandoned. So she's like, what is going on? So then fast forward, right? She's sitting at the table. Jermaine Jackson's hair walks in, and she's like, you did it. You stole money from me. And he's like, what? I wouldn't do anything like that. And she said, bitch, check your fucking phone. Well, she didn't say all that, but, come on. She's like, check your phone, bitch, okay? So he looks at his phone, and we see a video of him walking into the bank, and then we see him walking out. So clearly, duh, it was him. So he was like, I'm sorry. I love you. It's just, I had some debt, and I had to pay people off. And what kind of man? He was like, what kind of man walks up to his woman and be like, I need money and blah, blah, blah. But then in that same breath, he was like, but I thought we were partners. And okay, so if you thought we were partners, that's why I like it. If you thought we were partners, then you should have been able to come to me and be like, babe, I got debt up the wall. I need to pay some people off. And then she was like, okay, and I feel like she would have been like, okay, we'll help, we'll see what we can do, but not this, okay? So she's like, what? And she was like, well, you gotta give me that money back because, I could go to jail. They're talking about put me in jail for this. And so then that's when he flips. And he's like, you're not getting that money back because I'm your husband and that money is mine. And I'm like, whoa. And he's like, you must not know the law that, when you're married or whatever, that whatever's yours is yours and what's mine is mine. So that money is mine and you ain't getting shit back. So that's when he starts being just, uber disrespectful. And I mean, he was, at one point, and I think this was so at one point, she was trying to get him out the house, and he was like, this is my house, I live here, this is my house. Like, he just would not leave, and the police was like, well, he's your husband, we can't make him leave. I'm like, that is so dumb. Like, if somebody is telling you this is what's going on, like, why would you sit here and be like, oh, no, we can't help you? Like, I tell you, the police are useless in Tyler Perry land, I swear. But anyway, so, my eyes are watering. So, then, the next thing that happened, so, we're sitting here, and dude, like I said, just being real disrespectful. So, at some point, Grace comes home, and all of a sudden she hears like a boom noise coming from upstairs. And she goes upstairs and she hears moaning. Clearly he's in there having sex, right, with another woman. Now, what I was not expecting, okay, she busts in on them and she's like, what the hell, you're doing it in my bed, and what the fuck. He pushes, not only did he push Grace out of the bedroom, but he said, I need you to respect my privacy. I said, oh my God. And so he pushes her and told her, you respect my privacy, and closed the door and knock on the door, closes the door and locks it. And I'm like, what? So then the girl that he was messing with was clearly young, and she was like, dang, you didn't tell me your mama would be home. I'm like, what? Are you serious? Your mother? And I'm like, first of all, lady, you are trash, because if you think that was his mother, okay, and he treated her like that, and you're okay with that, I would have grabbed my stuff and left. But that's how you treat your mama? If you thought that was his mama, that's how you treat your mama? To push her out of the room and tell her, respect my privacy, and fucking knock. Are you serious? That's how you treat your mama? Okay. Okay. Yeah, cute for you, sis, but I'm not staying here. So, after that, he finished doing whatever he was doing, and then she leaves. The old girl, she leaves. Still on that mama shit. And then once she leaves, Jermaine Jackson's here, walked over to Grace, and he's like, listen, you could have joined us. And he's like laughing it off or whatever. And then he sits down, and mind you, at this point, out of all the shit, like, for me, I would be more focused on getting this man out of my house. Like, that's what I would be doing. Like, you need to get out. Like, I would be trying to get out of the marriage, all of that. Grace sitting there telling us something, give me the money back. I'm like, girl, that ship sailed. Like, don't even worry about the money. Like, you need to get him out of the house, like, pronto. Or at least get him to jail or something. But he's like, fuck that. You're not, like, you're still on that. And then that's when he just spiraled. Like, he's just out of control. He's like, if anything, you owe me for entertaining you in your miserable life. And then he starts talking about how because she's older and she's vulnerable and low-hanging fruit. And I'm like, you got a whole lot of nerve talking about Crystal Fox and her beautiful body. Like, you got a lot of nerve. Okay, like, she looks good for her. Like, come on now, talking about low-hanging fruit. Are you serious? If she wanted to, she could be a young lady. Okay? I don't know what you're talking about. But, so, he's sitting there just talking cash money shit. And Grace, she's just, like, losing it. So she gets up. And she's just like, fuck it. I'm like, okay. So how did she kill him? Because we know she killed him. It's like, how did she do it? So she grabs a bat, okay? And she walks over. And she just starts smashing with it over and over. And from what it looked like, she had beat him to death, right? With a bat. Okay, that's what it looked like. And so then she said, I, carried him, and I just pushed him in the basement. And I'm like, oh my God. So then she said she got in the car, and she just drove for miles and miles and miles and miles. And then to the point where she was in the middle of nowhere. And that's what she called Phylicia Rashad. And Phylicia was like, girl, what's up? And she was like, I killed him. And she was like, what? She said, yep, I killed him. His body's in the basement. So that's where we cut. Then we find out that, Phylicia Rashad's character, she said that she went over there. She saw blood and stuff, but, there was no body. Like, the body was gone. So now we know the whole story of what happened. The lawyer lady, she goes back to Phylicia Rashad, and she's like, girl, you were supposed to tell me that. She called you to tell you that she killed him. And she's like, well, I didn't know what to do, and, I don't know, like, did she ask, like, if you're trying to, like, protect, if you know something about somebody, like, you're trying to protect them, like, what's happened, like, that's perjury, you can go to jail for that. And she was like, oh my God, I ain't trying to go to jail. It was like, well, excuse me. So, wait. It is 7:17, y'all. This is. That's so rude. But y'all, we family at school. So then, eyes. Oh boy. So then, wait a minute, let me see. 42 minutes. Okay. Alright, so this is basically going to be like a part 1. And I'm going to end this line and then we're going to do a part 2.